What is up, Mullet Gang? It is your favorite neuro-edgy duo, ready to empower the fuck out of you.
Are you ready to break free from the chains of neurotypical expectations? Hey, I'm Susie.
And I'm Amy.
And together we are the Mullet Gang.
What's up?
Hey, everybody. Oh my God. Was that last episode not just so epic? Now you guys get to hear what Karrie does and how she uses her ADHD amazing brain to create a business that she loves and help other entrepreneurs do the same thing.
Yes. Episode 11, Rebel Heart, is all about using your super skill set as a badass ADHD woman by creating a business, being an entrepreneur, really leaning into your creative, innovative brain. And Karrie has so much passion and experience that she shares in how she's created this beautiful business supporting other ADHD women.
After talking with her, I feel like both of us immediately wanted to hire her. We're like,
Yes.
You know what? I could use her. You know what? I could use her too.
Totally.
I want all my friends to hire her, actually. I'm like, all my ADHD friends need this.
Oh, yeah. She definitely knows what she's talking about. And she has such a great combo of lived experience, business experience, but then that late diagnosis of ADHD. So I feel like it is just like the perfect package in what she can offer and how she can support women.
Yeah, I love talking to her about all those things. And I always love talking to other business owners. It's always kind of interesting to see how our challenges can become our biggest strengths sometimes.
Yes. I love that she was able to frame it in a strength-based approach. And it doesn't dismiss or invalidate the very real struggles that we have, but it's a way to use our strengths to overcome it and just create different expectations and kind of a different mindset. And that's why so many of us go into entrepreneurship, right? We want to create our own business, our own way of doing things. We don't want to follow the norm. We want to be rebels at heart.
Just like our episode 11, a rebel heart. Woo-woo! All right, guys, really tune in and listen. You might want a paper and a pencil because she's got some really cool tips.
Oh, yeah. Take lots of notes. And I have a feeling lots of people are going to be reaching out to her after this. So enjoy. I know a lot of the work that you do is supporting women in business.
Yeah.
Can we talk about how does this happen? How do ADHD women end up as entrepreneurs? And
well, here I
what
have
are some of the pros and cons with that?
I have something really funny. Approximately 5% of the population, from what we understand, which I think it's probably more, but they say approximately 5% are ADHD humans. 40% of entrepreneurs, 40, have ADHD
Wild.
or neurodivergence. That is a massive percentage of a small percentage, right?
Yeah.
So, that is wild. But why? We are the dreamers. We'll go first and think later. We are the action takers. We are the epic in a crisis people. We are the ones who somebody will see a brick wall and will be like, there's 7 ways around that, bitch. I don't know what you're talking about. We'll be like, you can do burp, 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 And so I think that what happens is that people who don't fit in, because having desk jobs, I would intermittently have them. And I felt like my brain was just oozing out of my ears every time. And the funniest part was every time I would go back to trying to do a job or get a job, I'd get laid off. Not fired, laid off. And the final time that I got laid off, I'm like, the universe has spoken. I will not go back and sit at anybody else's desk ever again. I won't do it. And once I made that very conscious decision and choice, I knew I needed to be helping women with ADHD. Actually, the day of my diagnosis, I'm like, I'm going to change the name of the podcast and this is going to be my specialty. I knew it. I just didn't know how that was going to all happen. So I just kept taking the next best step. And so I think that what happens with women with ADHD who go into entrepreneurship is we have the ability to do what CEOs and entrepreneurs need to do. Multifaceted thinking, quick decisions on our feet. Like I said, act now, think later. Some of the things that some people can see as a bad thing are actually the one of the biggest positives in business, being different, innovative, seeing something through a different lens and revolutionizing industries. It's how we roll, really, as people. And it's like, we're here to shake shit up. And one of the moments that I had that made me so excited, because I've looked at this after that, like 4 months and then starting the medication, all that, I finally was like, I am looking at this through a strengths focus lens, because I got here without knowing jack shit. I am one resilient mofo. Like,
hell yeah.
Resilience is one of our key traits. You need to be resilient in business, because you're going to fall and fail, but fail forward. We understand that. You get to fail forward, learn, keep going. You don't have to be an expert. You don't have to be the best. You just have to be tenacious. And we have trouble with consistency, but if you are persistent over consistent, you can do anything fucking thing you want to. And then when you get to a point where you need extra support, that's out there, and you go and you get it. Depending on how big you want to grow your business, we are not meant to do this shit alone. Like, you think Oprah's answering her own emails? You think Sarah Blakely from Spanx is like, just talking to, no, they have support. They have consultants. They have experts. They have those other people. So how do it's like, how do you think they got to where they are? Connection, community, understanding their own vision that's large, and just taking a step towards it every day, and not necessarily knowing exactly the outcome, and being okay with that. And it's just like, ADHD women are built that way. And so once I really, girl, dance it out. Once I really started kind of speaking to that, and you're going to notice a little bit of turning the volume up on some things coming out of my face very soon. Just because I really am going to lean into just that bigger vision. It's like, you can't keep doing the same things over and over again and think you're going to get a different result. And mindset is huge. It's massive. And I think with women with ADHD, we don't think we're resilient, and we don't think we are talented. And we just think that everything is supposed to be hard, and it's uphill both ways in the snow with no shoes on. That's our destiny. And that's a load of bullshit. Less is more. That is what I teach my clients in their businesses. I help them set up business structures that support them in the way their brain works. And it's never the same road. But let's just say other people have an Android operating system and we have an iOS. That's the difference. That's it. We just have a different operating system. That means we may take a different road to get to the screen with that app on it, but the app's still fucking there. So that is something that women with ADHD need to know. And there are some who are like, oh, I already know that shit. I just need some support and a little bit of fleshing out of this business offer or this idea or whatever. And there are some that takes years for them to process. And there's others who get their ADHD diagnosis and they're like, I can't do anything. I'm a victim. And I'm like, yep, I'm not for you. If that is how you see it, then I'm probably the wrong person to support you, because I don't see it like that at all. I believe that we can do anything we put our minds to. And the road may not look the same, but who the fuck cares? Like, if you get to the same destination, it doesn't matter. And so seeing the disruptors was another pivotal moment for me. I was watching some show and it had a commercial for this movie. And I was like, what is this? It had like William, and it had like a bunch of Paris Hilton, and it had Howie Mandel and a bunch of people who had ADHD, like talking about it in a positive light. And there's a website called Upside of ADHD. And I was like, this is exactly right. Yes, this is exactly it. And I watched that movie and my brain exploded out of my head, because I was like, okay, I am nailing this. Like, it just felt so good to look at like two of the main authorities in ADHD and be like, okay, yep, we can see the upside, especially Hallowell, Dr. Hallowell. I love that dude. He sees the upsides. He reframes like the triad of ADHD issues, and he reframes how they're seen and how they are talked about. And I'm just like, yes, this is it. I want every client I have to watch this shit. I want every woman who's ever been diagnosed with ADHD to watch this shit, because it really does just talk about, like William said, we have a super skill set. Not that have a superpower, but that we have a super skill set, and that we are meant to be creative and kind of all over the place and looking around us and aware. Like that's our design, and that's what makes us such amazing human beings. But not everybody gets that.
Yeah, that's such a great reframe. I think the strength-based approach is so important because, like you said, we spent most of our life feeling that we were failing, we were not good enough, we were awkward, we were too much. So to reclaim that and be like, I'm fucking badass. And I have this superpower skill set.
Yeah.
Now, maybe there are some challenges in figuring out how to access that, but it's there.
Right.
And, you brought up a good point. Women are drawn to being entrepreneurs when they have ADHD because they have that autonomy and freedom, can activate a lot of those strengths.
Yeah.
But then there are challenges that come with more the executive functioning and admin stuff. And I know Susie and I have talked about that before, as far as different ways to approach that, whether it's like bringing on help or creating different systems and schedules. But I think that can be a roadblock for a lot of women because they have all of the ideas and they want to execute. Yeah. But then it's like that freeze or paralysis mode. So how do you support women when they are kind of stuck in that, whether they want to start a business or pivot or change things up or add services?
This is one of my favorite questions. I have like a 3-minute tool that will get you out of paralysis, just like in a snap. Ooh. And when I tell people this, they're like, yeah, right. And then I'll get a message later on going, okay, I don't know what kind of magic bullshit you just hit, queen of all of ADHD, but I just did it. So let's see. One person was about to write a script for a new program she was creating. And she was just like stuck. She's like, I have all these ideas and I don't know how to get out. I go, okay, here's what you're going to do. You're going to go to your laptop. You're going to open it. You're going to open that page, just a blank page, but that's it. And she's like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, the first tiniest morsel of a step. That's it. Because ADHD paralysis is real. It's because we have so many thoughts and so many things and so much new information happening all at one time that we don't know where to start. So let's say you have to send an email that may be very complex and you don't want to do it, or you don't want to send it, or it's uncomfortable or something like that. Open your laptop, open the email, create a new email, and that's it. Tell your brain that. And your brain's like, okay, I can do that. And then all of a sudden, whoosh, the rest comes out. And so I gave this tip to many of my clients, and they will all come back with like, what kind of voodoo shit was that? Like, how did you even know to do? But I'm like, because this is a thing, and this is not an uncommon thing. And sometimes it is that first little tiny microscopic action that will then push you into the rest of action. And it is a brain trick. You're tricking your brain. Because once it's open, you're like, okay. And it comes out.
That's so funny because, we had our first guest, Esmeralda, who was actually a professional organizer, and she had the same concept, but with organizing. So I think the theme is it's those small micro steps, whether you're organizing one of your dooms piles, whether you're executing a business plan, the thought of the task alone in its entirety can feel daunting, but it's really just breaking it down to like the smallest step possible. Like I've even told clients, lift 1 foot off the bed. Yeah. To do, right? And then maybe if you feel like it, you could put your other foot off the bed. And it's those small micro steps that give us small amounts of dopamine because we're checking things off and feeling productive, but also it doesn't feel so scary, right? Because that's what happens. It's like, I think about the whole task to completion, and then my brain's like, nope, too hard, and shuts down, right?
Yeah. It's like, okay, someone will say, I'm going to clean my room. And I'll look at my room and go, there are 30 things that I have to do in here. That's what we see, the 30 things. So instead of picking one cabinet or one little corner or one thing. We think that, okay, oh my gosh, I have to do like 80, and everything is a task, not a habit for us. Brushing our teeth, washing our hair, task, 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 task. That's how our brain sees it. Everyone else is like, it's just a habit. I wake up, brush my teeth. Washing our hair is these basic things can be tasks, right? It's like, oh, I have to cook. Okay. That's like a 13 tasks I have to do all at one time. Those are the type of thoughts we have. But if you're like, I'm going to go to the kitchen and open the fridge, that can push us out of it very quickly. And so when I give people that trick, it's pretty funny when they come back to me and they're like, fuck, how did you do that? And I'm like, it's just a little magic, little neurospicy fairy god mentor, giving you the things that I've seen work for other humans and having a lot of tools in my tool belt to give out. Because the whole point is to find what works for them. It's never about me. It's me seeing something work with one person, knowing that it could work for another person, and just continually building that tool belt. Plus, having built a tool belt before I knew I had ADHD. That's another key. It's like, what are some of the things that I naturally did that were before my diagnosis that worked for me? They may not have been what everybody else did, but yeah. And so, what are some of those things?
It's crazy talking about like all the hacks that we've had, before we knew our diagnosis or knew more about it. Like in my situation, it was just like understanding what I had.
Yes.
Because I didn't have the support after they told me.
Yeah.
And it's like just weird that you do create ways around your brain and how your brain
have to
you up. But I have never tried micro anything. I've never tried micro organizing or just starting one little step. So I'm going to try that this week and get back to y'all, because
please do.
Typically I'm like, it's all or nothing.
Yeah. 0 or 100%. That's it's like in our now or not now.
Think you try to keep up with that, you get burnt out.
Yes.
Or you just give up and don't do it at all.
Right.
I think sometimes it's hard if you're in like a motivating space where you're like hyper focused, because then you want to do it all.
Yes.
But what I've learned is I have to create those breaks to pull myself out. Otherwise I will get burnt the fuck out and then take a longer time to recover. But it's so hard because our brain's like dopamine, dopamine, dopamine.
Yes. But we have, one of the things when a client comes to me and they will have like 87 things. And I'll be like, okay, so I'm going to tell you something you don't want to hear. It's like, you have to slow down to speed up. We need to create an incredibly stable foundation. And one of the three things I do for women are this: accountability, guardrails, or both. That's it. So let's say they have a brand. It's like a bowling lane. I'm the bumpers, right? There's a huge lane. They can do all of these amazing things, but they want to stay between the bumpers, their brand, right? Accountability. If you say you're going to do something in your head, you have about a 6% chance of doing it. If you say you're going to do something to another person and you have a specific day and time to meet with them and tell them you did that thing, your accountability goes up to like 95%. The chances of getting things done are much higher, because I think part of it's our people pleasing, but part of it's like, I don't want to let somebody else down. I told them I'm going to do this. Like, that works for our brain, and we don't need it all the time, but we may need that to push through certain parts of business or certain parts of life, which is why ADHD coaching is a great thing. I'm not talking about business at all. Like, for some, learning certain things and tools they can do through ADHD coaching can really be monumental. But I mean, knowing these little tricks and giving them to people and watching their brains blow up. And they're like, but that's so small. I'm like, but is it though?
Yeah.
It took you from feeling like you can't write this program to finishing it in less than an hour. And so that's the guardrails is where I can kind of be like, okay, I know the shiny thing is over there and you are going to be able to do the shiny thing. Foundation first, not on sand, on concrete. You create that. And then you're going to be able to do all these other little pop things that your brain is like, oh, I want to do that. You're going to be able to do that within your business. That's why, because there are no fucking rules. People think there are rules, but there really aren't.
Yeah, that's what we typically go into being entrepreneurs. We don't want to follow the corporate rules or work for someone else and follow their rules. We want to create our own system, right?
Yeah.
And so it sounds like you really help empower your clients to think outside the box, and you keep them grounded in maybe what's realistic and doable, but you also encourage them to take those risks when necessary, right?
Feet on the ground, head in the clouds, baby. That's right.
I like
Feet
that.
on the ground, head in the clouds. You get to be a big dreamer and still be grounded. You're allowed to do both.
Yeah.
It's not mutually exclusive.
No. And, you know, the fact that our brain is constantly on the hunt for dopamine, that means that our career has to be aligned with things that light up our brain. So some type of interest, passion, something that's fulfilling, that gives us a sense of novelty, and a creative outlet. So I think finding something that you love, but then being able to share that and help other people, what a beautiful thing. And all of us are in that situation where we've been able to really activate those strengths and that skill set and help people while doing that.
Yeah. And it's fun to think about, because I'm like, okay, I'm helping one person who's a service provider and they're providing services for hundreds of other people. I'm affecting hundreds of thousands, hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands. Eventually, it's like this ripple effect, right? And so if I am helping one woman get diagnosed and then also see her ADHD as her edge, as her quirks are her advantage, not the disadvantage, and also say, yes, there's some shit that comes with ADHD that is not fun, but also you have survived 100% of your worst days so far. You've got an excellent track record. So let's keep going, and it's not about rah, rah, sis, boom, bah. It's about being clear, helping people get clear on their vision, especially women with ADHD, the bigger vision, and then starting at that microscopic place to start really fleshing out that vision. And one of the things I've heard recently is when we think about the future, we get anxious. When we think about the past, we get depressed. We're at peace when we're in the moment. And ADHDers oftentimes are in the moment. And if we focus on that does bring us some peace. Even though our brains may be chaotic, that's exciting. That's peaceful to us because we are helping we as humans with ADHD, for some reason, want to change or affect the world. It is an inherent thing in so many of us. It's not just wanting any business. It's wanting a business that has long reach, right? And we just want to make a difference in the world. And I used to jokingly say, one day I'm going to help women all over the world. And I was joking, but I've had clients in Dubai. I've had clients in Canada. I have clients in Australia. And I'm like, oh shit, it's happening. Oh, look what I spoke into existence without even realizing it. And so I just help hold up a mirror to other women and say, you don't think you can, but that's bullshit. And you just have to work within the way your brain works instead of trying to work against it. You're like waiting for a brain to show up that you don't have. So stop waiting for that brain to show up that you don't have and use the one you have to your advantage. Why do you think they show a light bulb over someone's head when you get an idea? Because Thomas Edison had fucking ADHD and people told him, you can't harness this in that bulb. And he's like, yeah, right. And he did it. And he had neurodivergence, that's how we are made. We are literally made that way. So stopping going against that grain and starting to go with it, watch the fuck out. That is an entirely different way to live your life. When you
Women Unleashed, right? Yeah. Kind of fits the name. Like once you are unleashed from all those standards and expectations, it's magic. And, I think that's the power of sharing your story. The power of our podcast is really to let women know they are not alone.
Right.
Don't give up. Be persistent as fuck.
Yes.
And you're a fucking badass. Right.
Yeah.
And so that is our message here. Yeah. And I think you're just such a beautiful example of what that looks like. And I love that you have created a business around that whole cause.
Yeah. And it's funny because I don't know how much you guys know about human design or whatever, but in my design is I'm supposed to take things that don't seemingly go together and create a path. And I laughed. I'm like, of course. Business, later life ADHD diagnosed women. Why would that go together? Obviously it goes together, but not everybody's thinking that. They're like, I'm going to be a business mentor to people with ADHD. Good for you. I want the women like myself who have gotten a later life diagnosis. We are an entirely different animal, right? Quote unquote. So I was scared to kind of even go smaller. But the reality is that undiagnosed until you are an adult, y'all are my jam. And I have been a mentor since I was 24. I mean, I've been mentoring women since I was 24. So business and women in business are my fucking hyper focus. Like it.
That's the dream though, right?
Yeah.
Get a business out of your hyper focus.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and one that I just never get tired of. Like, you know how sometimes it's like, ooh, sparkly syndrome. No, I may have that in like my business ideas and what I want to do and what I want to execute. But when it comes to the who is always the same. Yeah. Always.
And, you know, that is definitely a rare find these days, to find something that you're passionate about and it stays ignited.
Yeah. And in the online space, I have 25 years of experience in business. There is not a lot of people who specialize in ADHD women who also have 25 years of business and 5.5 of that in the online arena.
Yeah, and that's such a cool combo.
Yeah. So I just have all of these parts where I'm like, I know I'm completely different than anybody else because nobody else is going to check these boxes. Yeah. And I don't have to worry about competition because it isn't about competing anyway. It's collaborating is best anyway.
Yeah. Well, I know we're going to have like all your links and everything, but where can people find you as far as like socials? And then if you have like a general website or webpage that they can go to?
Yeah. Karryoutloud.com is my website. You can contact me. There's a contact form on there. You're not going to find a ton of my services on there because everything is very customized to the individual. So I have a few different spaces that I have for women, and it just kind of depends on where they are in their road of their business building. And so I don't like to do anything cookie cutter, but contacting me and letting me know like what their needs are. And then on Instagram, it's the.carryoutloud. That is my Instagram handle. And you can always send me a message there, follow me there. And those are like the two main things. I'm going to take the podcast onto YouTube, which is like, oh, okay, yeah, let's just do this. This will be fun. But I'm doing a little bit of switching up of my podcast, just a hair. And so I really want to also have the face-to-face conversations with people as opposed to just being the audio. So, but yeah, and my podcast is the ADHD Entrepreneur Her, and that is on Apple, Spotify, any place you want to go to listen.
Yeah, I love it. It's such great content. I love the variety. Definitely give her a follow. And you have so much passion for this and the women that you serve. I think that is just so apparent. I mean, you can feel the energy and excitement. And that's why I love connecting with you on social media. I'm so glad that you came on here because you are one of a kind. Seriously, with your background and your experience, I think it's just a beautiful gift that you're offering to our community.
Thank you. And I care. I really care. It's when you care and you do right by people, the income comes, the business grows. You know, you don't have to worry about that stuff. And I think that's one of the biggest things is I may be a hard ass, but I have a big, fat, marshmallowy heart. And so when you have that badassery with that squishiness, it's just a really good, fun balance. And it's a really good balance in business because I know when to kind of press my clients and when to be like, okay, we're not going to press here. We're going to stay here in whatever this moment is. And we're going to talk about that, you know? So I have a very high intuition of how my client is doing or feeling just by seeing them. And these are just special things that come with me being myself. And so I love that.
You're able to show up authentically in your marketing, but also in your work with clients. And I think that's so powerful for us because we don't feel burnout when we no longer have to mask in our business and our career. It really changes everything. So thank you so much for joining us and chatting. It was so helpful. I know I learned so much and got so much just validation of my own experience, which felt good. I'm sure our listeners felt the same way.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's an honor to work with women like us. I hold it in very high regard. And I really deeply appreciate you having me come on in this series because, you know, we are the disruptors. We are the shakers of industries and shakers of the ways that other people think. And that's why we're here. That's why we're here. And I just want to support as many women who want to run their businesses in a way that works with them instead of all of the neurotypical shit they're seeing out there of how to do things. I'm going to show you how to do exactly that, but with your brain.
I'm definitely giving you a fucking call, dude. Oh my God. I've never been so quiet on a podcast before. I'm just like eating up every word you said. I'm like, yes.
Mind blown, right?
Take some notes. Oh, I'm doing this. I'm closing her tomorrow.
I have clients who have brick and mortar. I have clients who are virtual. I have clients who, you know, they just need things that work with their brain. It's like, for some reason, we don't think of that. We're like, no,
why didn't I find you 3 years ago?
It doesn't matter because it's right on time. Don't ever worry about timing.
That's right.
Be right on time.
That's right. That's right.
Right on time.
We cannot lament. You are right.
Because depression lives in the past. Anxiety is in the future. Be here now with me.
She is blowing my mind again.
Make it happen.
We're in the moment right now. And
oh my God.
You know, this connection, I feel like people are always put in our life for a reason. And when you make a connection like that and you hear exactly what you need to hear, it's like, yes, similar to when you get your diagnosis. It's like, I finally get it. So, oh my gosh.
We should be like a Lifetime show. Like, that was so amazing. That was so moving.
Oh my gosh.
We definitely need to start our own show.
That was just like, oh my God. I'm inspired.
Well, you guys inspire me. I mean, it goes both ways. There's reciprocity here, right? You know, and it's funny because as people with ADHD, we often put others on pedestals. And that was something that I did for so long, thinking these other business people or business mentors or whatever were way better than me. And the minute I realized like, nope, we all just human. And really make sure that nobody puts anybody else on a pedestal because we are all on the same road, walking side by side, hand in hand, ta-la-la-la-la. We don't have to, you know, think anybody's better than anybody else, but we do have different pieces of information from our own lived experiences. And that's what you're hearing here, Susie. So call me.
Give me a call.
Call me.
Give her a call, folks. Give her a call. Go to her social. Shoot her a DM or email. Right, lots of different ways. But yes, this was amazing, so helpful, and I hope we can bring you on again because
I would love it.
Vibes and info and inspiration. So thank you.
I would love that anytime, babies. Anytime, my lovelies.
All right.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Loved it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Love you guys both. Mwah.